Hello, everyone. Have you asked yourself a question? Why students spend thousands of hours studying, but their results are not that great? So the answer is with two rules. The rule number one is called Pareto Principle, which means 80% of the results comes from 20% of the efforts. So as we see here, 80% of the result comes from 20% of the efforts. Why? Because these 20% are the important ones. So in the exams for step 3, step 2 CK, step 2 CS, there are things that are important that you should spend a lot of time on, and there are things that are not important at all. Okay, so that's why people who spend a lot of time studying low yield material and then they don't get the results that they want. But there are people who spend very short amount of time studying, but they get great results. So this rule is very important. So this course is about that. It's just focusing on the important things. For example, when you see the exam with the block, there are questions you figure out within 20 seconds. You just read these trigger points and you pick the answer and move on. And there are questions you need to spend 1 minute, 2 minutes, try to focus on the differentials and try to rule out what differentials are. Okay, for example, you see well demarcated erythema, that's most likely erysipelas. This is one situation. So I call it rules of USMLE. So there are words, if you read them in the question stem, it should trigger a point, lead you to the answer, that you pick it and move on. For example, when you see circular area of hair loss, you pick alopecia and move on. In the exams, not like real life. You don't have time to think again and again about the question. Okay, so this Pareto principle, focusing on the important things. And this is exam taking skills. Exam taking skills is 40% of the score and 60% is studying. So exam taking skills mean focusing on the important key points in the question stem. For example, the way you read the question, you go to the age, chief complaint, and then you go to the physical exam, and then you read the options. If you are able to figure out what's the answer at that moment, pick it and move on. If you still don't know the answer, then go back to the history and start collect informations. Okay, just train your eyes. This is important. One thing. Another thing is stamina. It's a 9-hour exam. 9 hours is a lot of hours to sit in one place and just focus. So a lot of people lose their stamina after 4 hours or 5 hours. That's why they don't answer very well after that time. But if you train your stamina for these 9 hours, you're gonna rock the exam. So number one, reading the question is very important. And the second part is that the stamina, okay? So this is principle number one. That's what I'm gonna depend on this course. Pareto principle, number one. The second principle is called Parkinson principle. What we call it, the magic of imminent deadline. Imagine if you have a chapter and you give yourself 1 week for that chapter. You start procrastinating for the first 4 days, and then the last 2 days, that's where you pressure yourself, where you study the most. Is that correct? What do you
Yes.
think? Yeah, right. So the best way is that to try to pressure yourself. When you pressure yourself, you again activate your system 2. System 2 is the intelligent part of your brain. So if you have a chapter, put it 2 days for that chapters or less, and try to finish it. If you didn't, then try to extend the time. So this is very important. I used to follow a very good approach, is that studying for 50 minutes and then taking a rest for 10 minutes. And this 50 minutes, nobody can ever interrupt me. So this is very important. These two rules are very important in succeeding in these exams. Another example that I want to tell you about, this is how I'm gonna discuss about these courses. For example, someone with a cough and a fever. So someone present with a cough and a fever, everybody has cough and a fever. But not everyone have dullness to percussion, which indicate pneumonia. Not everyone have absent breath sounds, which indicate pneumothorax. So you see these two words, you pick your answer and move on. Okay? So for the CK course, it's very important for step 3 and for step 2 CK. I did that CK courses while I was studying for step 3. Is basically going over each and every single question and just highlighting the key features in each question. And it was with the students. So if you want, the best way to approach these courses is that you listen to the audio and then you try to pause it after I ask the question, and then you continue, you find out what's the answer. So this is very good way. It's very interactive and it stimulates your memory, and it's very short amount of time. I always wanted someone who could explain 3,000 questions in a very short amount of time, but I didn't find any that did that. So I did it myself. It helped me, it helped the other students, and I hope it will help you too. So this is for the CK course. For the step 3 course is also about focusing on the differential diagnosis, what's unique and what's the same. So that's all about the courses. So this is what we're gonna discuss, what's unique and what's the same. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next class.
Thank you.
You're welcome.